Hello everyone, this is Diane and I'm here to show you two completed journals that I have listed in my shop. I used I think it's the 1824 Booksmith course from Nick the Booksmith on Teachable. I can link the her Teachable page here, and then you just have to find the 1824. Also use the hollow back spine course. So these covers are made with chipboard, and it wasn't extremely heavy. It was heavy enough that I would use it as a spine, but I glued two pieces of it together and it became very thick and heavy. So the front and back are made with that, and it's got this raised rose design on it. And I painted the cover yellow, and then I put a wash of vintage photo distress paint on it, and then I rubbed some gold, Inca gold on it. So it looks very vintage, but it doesn't look quite as grungy in person as it's looking on camera, but it is a little bit grungy. See if I can get better light here. I put a vintage fabric on the spine. The roses are on the back also. And it is not an even coverage of paint and Inca gold and stuff, because I wanted it to look vintage and worn. So it's darker and lighter in different spots. I put some vintage trim along the spine. There's some cheesecloth here. It's a hollow back rounded spine. It is not perfect. I'll be the first to admit it's not perfect, and I want to keep trying making these until I'm better at it, but it's a good journal and I like it, and I hope you do too. So this one I painted pink. I made it the same way, but I painted it pink, and again with vintage photo wash on it and some gold, and to make it look a little grungier, and I used this pretty fabric on it. The paper pad paper kit, the digital kit, is Shabby Roses, I think. So I put roses. This one has roses. I'm not sure what kind of flowers these are, but there's roses on the spine. Okay, so we're just going to go in. They're both pretty much set up the same. I'll go through both of them. So there's paper on the inside and some fabric here. I used some coffee dyed scrapbook paper and some vintage trim on the edge. Both of the trims in this journal are vintage. In addition to the Shabby Rose papers, I used Mrs. Cog's second edition kit, which is images of people reading books. So there's a lady on the train reading, or in a coach or something. There's some vintage eyelet trim right here, and this pocket is made with a cutoff of the scrapbook paper, and I glued on a vintage rose applique. I did some Mod Podge, decoupage of rose napkin on the alteration tag and tucked it in the pocket here. So these books I'm going to call Reading in Roses, because it's a Shabby Rose kit and the second edition kit. This is graph paper from Italy. This is yellow paper that I coffee dyed, and then I just did some scattered light stamping and Mod Podged a basket of violets there. This is from an appointment book. Vintage, I don't know how old these are. Somebody sent these quilt pieces to me, and I sewed two together and then ironed them and then sewed them on as a flip. So I don't know how old they are. And there's a vintage trim at the top. And this is one of, I should say that the paper, the Shabby Rose paper, came from TLC Creates Vintage. I can link her website. I tried to find this paper pack digital kit in her shop, but She has a lot of kits, and I tried typing in shabby roses and it brought up something else. It brought shabby chic rose journaling kit or something. So I couldn't find these, and I gave up trying because there were just so many. She has so many kits, but I'm gonna link her shop, her website, so that you can go and see what else she has, or maybe find those. And this is from Tailor Made Journals. All of the images that I copied onto the backs are from Tailor Made Journals, and I'll link her shop also. This is from a scrapbook, craft cardstock page out of a scrapbook, and I wanted you to be able to open the flap, so I didn't stitch it shut, but I did thread some ribbon through there, and I just added this little metal piece on there just for decoration. This paper, every signature in both books has a piece of this paper. It's excellent quality paper, and this is how it came. The label says best writing paper, 12 sheets of laid paper with 10 envelopes, and it came wrapped up like this, and I bought it in Williamsburg, Virginia many years ago when my husband and I went to Williamsburg, and we visited in Colonial Williamsburg, or near there. There was a printer's shop. I think it was right in Colonial Williamsburg. There's a printer's shop, and you could actually go in and see how they printed, what an old print shop would be like. And this had a quill, a feather pen adhered to the front of it too, and there was a little packet of powder that you could follow the directions and mix up to make ink, and I don't know what happened to that. But I've just been hoarding this paper, and I bought this long before I started making any kind of books. So you can it says 12 sheets. You can see I still have quite a few in here, so I'm going to start using it now. So I used 6 pages of it in these books. Here's another of TLC Creates vintage papers. There's some music paper. I reinforced the fold, and then this is a piece of mulberry paper with some glitter butterflies on it, and a piece of lace. A collage tag that I made. It's got vintage pieces out of ledger and notebooks, and then Tim Holtz notebook or tissue paper on top of it, and a Mrs. Cog's image. Here's a piece of vintage stationery with a rose. This envelope came with one of Tailor Made Journals kits that has the avocado dyed paper, but it's a digital. Some of the pages are backed with that, mostly in the pink book. So I put some paper lace on here, and this is some Mod Podge napkin on a ticket, and an image from Mrs. Cog. There's a fabric cluster there, and here's the other side of that scrapbook page. Again, I used paper lace and an image from Mrs. Cog. This lady actually fell asleep with the book on her lap. Lots of space for writing. Some more stamping on this yellow page, and the word abundance. There's a glassine bag with a napkin Mod Podge to it, and a Mrs. Cog image with some vintage music paper behind it. And this is just a tag that I made. Second signature has this little child reading a book. It's such a sweet picture. And a tag that also came with the avocado dyed digital kit. Did some stamping and decoupage napkin on there. This is a page from a vintage book on practicing penmanship. So this was printed on there. I wish my penmanship was that nice. some handmade paper with some petals and leaves in it. And this is just a digital envelope. I don't know. I've got a whole bunch of digital envelopes that I have printed. And I just put a couple of seed packet labels that are digitals. And they came from Artsology, I believe. Here's another envelope. I just got out some of my printable envelopes that I already have printed and just used them. Anything that went with this book, I went ahead and used, and it has some roses on it. And there's some lined paper printed on the back of this sheet. Another fabric cluster. Love this one. I think this is my favorite page in that kit. Sorry about that. It says memories up there. This is a little corner pocket that I had made, and I just recently did a video. I think it was just uploaded this week. Well, this is going to be uploaded Monday, and so this was uploaded. That video was last week. And here's the third signature. All of the pockets on the front of the signatures have the vintage eyelet and a Mrs. Coggs image and a vintage applique. Love this image. I love her pretty pink dress. There's a pretty Dresden plate flip. This has a digital calling card, and this is handmade paper in green. This is from Tailor Made Journals. No, yeah, Tailor Made Journals. Printed on the back of that. I think that's where that's from. A vintage catalog card and a tag that came with one of those paper kits. This is from a very vintage ledger book or album. It's got a fabric glued down to hold this heavy leather tab. It's so cool. I just put one of these pages in each book. This is the Williamsburg paper. This is vintage stationery, by the way. The yellow sheet near the center of each signature is a piece of vintage stationery. And here's another digital envelope. Such a pretty one with such soft colors. Fabric cluster. There's the other side of that album page. It's got some canvas fabric glued down there. That one says beautiful. And here is a collaged index card. It was actually made out of file folder, and I stamped on it. It's got piano roll music on it. You can't really tell. It's got the little holes there though. I stamped background stamp on it and then collaged on it. This is an envelope that came with the avocado dyed paper. Again, this is stamped ticket and just a scrap of paper that I cut with pinking shears. There's nothing inside that, but you can add something. Okay, so this is yellow Reading and Roses. And this is the pink Reading and Roses. I like the fabric. And there's Mod Podge over the fabric as well as on the cover. And it's got this toile paper. And it's set up just the same way. So I'll just flip through because the images are different. And the papers are different. This is one of the Shabby Rose papers. It's so pretty. This piece of metal is a flower shape. Love this one too. So there's the avocado dyed paper with the doily pattern on it from Tailor Made Journals. There's the envelope to match. Handmade paper for a tuck spot. Oh, I've got to add some seam binding to that, but this is another tag that I made with piano roll paper. Did a collage and some stamping on it. I have video on that called, I don't remember, Scrapistry or Stashistry or Use Your Stuff or something like that. Here's it's kind of like a cluster, but it's long and skinny. It's just fabric and laces. This is, instead of the appointment book, this journal got pages from an appointment book. This journal got like a printer stationery that has roses on it. Second signature. A printable calling card, and I love the pink color of this handmade paper. And here's another printable envelope, and I'm not sure where this came from. It might have been from Dreams, etc. And I just tucked a couple more of the seed packet cards in there. This one is, I think this one's from TLC. Looks like advertising sheets with some roses on it. And I put another seed packet card in there. This yellow or pink paper, pale pink paper, is stationery, as the yellow was in there. They came in the same stationery pad. It was just a tablet of writing paper that I found at a flea market. Love that avocado dyed paper. There's a cluster. There's an envelope in here with nothing in it. It's a pretty image from Mrs. Coggs. I think that one's from Blue in the Garden. I'm not sure. This is not a printable. It's a certificate, and it was on one of the free pages that you get in the center of Somerset Studio magazines. So it was a bunch of stuff you could cut out. Here's the album page that has the leather letter. This one is A. Again, with the white rose the other journal has. And a collage on file folder again. And an inventory tag. So we have pink, Reading and Roses, and yellow, Reading and Roses. And these are in my shop, unless someone got to them before you did. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for supporting my channel and my shop. I'm going to ask you to leave me a comment and or a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. The more you interact with my channel, the better it is for me to grow. Thank you so much, and I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.